So welcome, my name is Gregor, and I would like to present you a full stack web dev series. And this is the first chapter. And we were talking about a framework, or a very, very simple framework connected with Docker that I called Python Web App, which is a setup that installs Apache and Python and ModWizgy. And the idea is that instead of having this complicated way of setting up things and installing, having to install Apache server and ModWizgy to start really this front end, back end web development with Python and HTML and JavaScript, I want to offer you a very simple setup that is Dockerized. So this installs all this software, and then it mounts a local folder to the Docker, and you can simply change. You will see one index.html file with some JavaScript, and then the backend is index.py in Python. So very, very simple setup to get you started. And here is a basic folder structure. So the Python web app root folder, and then the Docker base, the virtual environment folder where Python from the Docker will install all the required packages in this virtual environment, and then the logs and the run folder. This is for Apache. And then the front end is stored in this web folder, and the back end in Python is stored in this Python web app subfolder. To look a little bit more in detail, the dbase contains a Dockerfile, so this is instruction of how to build a Docker, the build script, the requirements, which you can change at any time to add custom Python packages that you are using for the backend, and the run script, which actually runs the Docker and container, and the site configuration, which you don't need to change or look at. It's an Apache configuration, but of course, if you want to go into the details to see how things are set up, of course, look at this file also. And so the Docker file, we're taking an Ubuntu 24.04, and then we are enabling ModWizgy. We are copying the Apache configuration to the default configuration inside the Docker, and we are exposing port 80. In just a few moments, it will be much clearer. I will show you a diagram of how this works. And then the run script actually maps the Python web app root folder to the site folder inside the Docker. So this root folder will go to inside the Docker in the site file. And then we are exposing port 80 to the, forwarding it to the port 8007. And this is the actually diagram of how we are doing things. So the local computer, port 8007 mapped to port 80, and the Python web app root folder mapped to the site folder. So whatever you change locally in this folder will also be seen by Docker. And it's super simple. And then the front end is stored in this web folder, and it contains index.html, and the backend is stored in the Python web app subfolder. And the main file here, the only one that you need to change or look at, is this index.py. And the index.py is a classic ModWizgy application, and there are other functions, and do look at the file as a whole if you want to delve into the structure. But the important thing is this function echo that we will be using, and this will simply get a message parameter and just return the same. So it will echo the same message. And then the index.html, this is just a JavaScript call. We will open this index.py, send an action echo, so use the echo function, and the message will be echo message. So the actual message is here, and you can change this to test things out, and then we will retrieve this result of the echo function from the backend and set the text of the div element called div echo in the HTML to this result. All right, so let's do this. And to do this, we go to this repository, Python web app, which has all these files in place. We can clone this, HTTP cloning. And here we have, I'm on a Mac here, but I tested it also on Ubuntu, and it in theory should work on any other operating system as long as you have Docker installed. So git clone, we clone this repository. We can go inside here, and then in dbase, and you look, the files are there, and we just simply can build this Docker contain image, and then run the container in the run. Okay, it takes a little bit of time. So this really goes from the Docker, and it stores things to your local folder, and it installs all the Python packages in the requirements.txt, so you can change that, and these packages will be updated and installed. All the things that you need for the backend. And now in the end, it says, okay, we are actually then running the container. So it takes a little bit of time to update all these things. Installs, dependencies, and at the end, you say Docker server, Apache, ModWhiskey is running. And since we mapped the port 8007 to the Docker, we can go through now to the local port, local host, sorry, and then just run this. And you see, this is simply an HTML. This is connecting to the Apache running in the Docker. And this is not communicating with the backend at all. But if you click at this button, send echo message, you get echo message. And this is because this actually called this URL, index.py, action echo message is some message. We had echo message, but we also have something else like echo 123. Or we can change this to whatever we like. Echo message test. And you see, we also have this. And now, this is really a base. You see, you have an HTML that calls JavaScript that goes to the backend, and this then calls their Python function that gets a value and returns something, text in this case. And we can change now this echo function, and we can simply open the index.py file. And you see there is a lot of imports here at the beginning and the table class. There are some other functions that you can look at, but the echo function is here. And we can say, okay, now it just gets this message. And if there's no message, return no message. And we can change this and say, okay, return, for example, instead of just the message, this is the echo message plus the message. And we can go back to the web browser, and if we click reload, it will take a few seconds because the ModWhiskey is reloading now the Python webcap. But you see it. And now this function returns, this is the echo message and then the message. And even here in the front end, if we click now this, we also get the same. So it communicates with the backend. And this is really the base of how things are built. In terms of front end and back end, and I use this same similar base to build the web applications. Of course, you can use also platforms like Django or other things, but this I really wanted to show you the basis of how you can use Python and HTML and JavaScript to start developing full stack. For example, the PubScan application that I built and shows a network of scientists was built in the same way. So the HTML is a little bit more complex and the backend is a little bit more complex. And you can see the whole open source project is available on GitHub. And you see you can build very, very interesting and nice things. For example, this communicates with an SQL database and goes there and retrieves the data and shows you a network. And the basis of how to build this kind of thing is the same as I showed you. So it really allows you to start from the simple things and then build depending on how deep you want to go and how complex things you would like to build. Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. I hope this was helpful. And of course, as is customary to say, like and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.